Hi everyone, it's Danny. Today we're gonna make a more complete update on my Angraecum sesquipedale. If you have watched my video from a week ago or 2 weeks ago, when I returned home, this orchid was bumped over and I was forced to repot it once again. And that was a little scary because Angraecums have the bad reputation of not taking repotting so well. So let's make an update on this one and see how it handled my repotting. The first repotting that I did was in the spring when I received it. I ordered it from Schwerter, and I always repot every orchid that I get just to check the root system, see if it has any problems with snails and so on. It's just a routine that I do. And yeah, I learned after that Angraecums don't really like repottings, and maybe it was not a good idea because I might have a very staling orchid. So it's been about 6 months, I think, since then. Maybe I'm mistaken, I'll check. But definitely at least 4 to 5 months from then, and my Angraecum orchid is actually doing super good. Now I had the chance to repot this orchid since it was out of its pot, and I've got a chance to look at the root system, and I can say that it's actually doing very well. There are a lot of growing roots in the pot, although you may not see all of them. I have this one which actually sprouted from this section of the plant, and also there is this one on the bottom, and yeah, a few more here and there in the pot. So this orchid actually came as this mature orchid and a baby. This is not its baby though, they were not connected at all, but I decided to pot them together somehow, just to give them both the same care and environment, and just have two plants in one pot for space reasons as well as bloom reasons and so on. So I can say that the repotting was more than successful. This plant didn't stale at all. This leaf was actually produced in the meantime, this leaf as well. And another viewer of mine asked me if Angraecums are fast growers. No, they're not. They're really not. They're really slow growers, and the baby actually put out 2 leaves as well, this one and the one in the middle. So I guess it's a good growth pattern, and I can say that my Angraecum did not stale. Now if it's gonna bloom or not, this I do not know. We're just getting into Angraecum season. This orchid is also called the Christmas orchid, if I'm not mistaken, because it blooms at Christmas. But other than that, you can see that the actual orchid is doing perfectly well. Now I used a bark medium because Angraecums, as far as I read, are somewhat like Vanda orchids when it comes to potting media and aeration around the roots. That's why many people grow this orchid mounted on a basket without any media at all, just like a Vanda orchid, or even mounted on a cork piece and so on. So this orchid really likes to have a lot of air, a lot of ventilation around the roots. Of course, if you're gonna keep it mounted or hanged, you need to water it daily. I actually don't water it daily. I water it after the media has dried for about 2 days or so. But since it's bark, it dries up pretty fast. And although you may see bits and pieces of moss, they're not necessarily intentional. I just used the media from my media box. I do a mixture in a different bowl, and there are just a few sphagnum moss pieces left, but they don't do any harm. They don't retain that much moisture, and I think there's just these 2 pieces. So I think bark media actually does good for an Angraecum so far, in my environment at least, and I had a pretty bad summer, pretty hot, and I was not here. I didn't water them properly, but the Angraecum is one of the orchids that actually thrived while I was gone, while some other orchids I had nearly died or actually died. So the Angraecum really enjoyed the ventilation, and the lack of water didn't seem to affect it. Now, Soniti here on YouTube has 2 Angraecums actually, and recently she did a repotting of one of her Angraecums. And if you'd like to see that video, I'll post an annotation somewhere here, and you can click on it and visit her video and watch it. What she did was actually unpot her recently purchased Angraecum because she noticed that one of the shoots was actually dying off. It dried and died off, and when she unpotted the orchid, she discovered some rotten roots and so on. Her Angraecum was potted in sphagnum moss, and although it was in a net pot, it didn't seem to like the sphagnum moss so well. So maybe bark medium is actually better for Angraecums. Certainly it would be better for Vandas. So if Angraecums are anything like Vandas in in this department, then I would suggest bark media, and just pay attention not to leave it dry for way too long, but definitely don't keep the media moist for long periods of time. This orchid was watered yesterday. It's still rather moist, but in about 2 or 3 days it's gonna be completely dry, and I actually don't intend to water this orchid for another 6 days or so. So this is how much I keep my Angraecum without water, and it's doing perfectly fine. Also, I do make these ventilation holes for the extra ventilation and so on. And yeah, so far I think my Angraecum is actually doing super good. I'm proud of his evolution, and I think it's the only orchid that looks better after my vacation than when I received it. Alrighty, so if you didn't see my repotting video for the Angraecum, you have a link towards that video in the description below. And what I can tell you is that I didn't snap roots. I just cut off the roots that were dead, but I was careful not to snap the roots. They are pretty strong as well, so it's pretty hard to actually snap them, and that was Jackie. My laughing dove. Alrighty, so they're pretty hard to snap. They're not very brittle at all, so you really need to be harsh to snap a root like this. But I guess if you do intend to repot your orchid, if you feel it's necessary and it's suffering in its media, do it, no matter what the rumors are. Of course, a sick orchid or a suffering orchid, no matter the variety or the species, will be more prone to staling and not doing so good after repotting than a healthy orchid. So I am pro for repotting Angraecums. Mine did great, as long as you keep it airy, don't overwater it, let's call it like that, don't water it too often. It should be just fine. Alrighty, so I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to see more videos, don't forget to subscribe. You can leave me your comments and suggestions for videos in a comment below, and I will see you next time. Have a great day. Bye!